The breaking news team on the case. We got to be here for more than just good news, right? Chiefs trade L'Jarius Sneed to the Tennessee Titans. Let's talk about it.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
As I'm sure you all were enjoying your Friday night, the Chiefs decided to make a move. According to Adam Schefter, the Chiefs are finalizing a deal to send a franchise cornerback L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans, per league sources. Chiefs are expected to receive a 2025 third-round pick in addition to a 2024 seventh-round pick flop, while Sneed is expected to sign a new contract. Trade is pending physical for L'Jarius Sneed. I'm Tucker Franklin, joined by Kent Swanson as of right now. You know, with the breaking news team, you never know who's going to hop in here. But Kent, first reactions to L'Jarius Sneed traded to the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I know there's going to be a lot of people frustrated with the compensation.
Yeah.
So like the first initial reactions are like, I know that I can see the frustration already. I think this compensation tells me that I don't think L'Jarius Sneed was ever going to play in Kansas City on the franchise tag. Honestly, I just have a hard time believing when we laid out the conversation, I think earlier this week on the KC Laboratory, they're all running together. All the weeks are running together.
Yeah.
It feels like we've been talking about Sneed for a few weeks, but I kind of said like, I look at how the cap is. I look at, just kind of the compensation that, the available cap space that the Chiefs have. I just didn't have a good feeling that the Chiefs were going to wind up keeping him. I think they were going to try to move on. I think there was a non-zero chance that they rescinded the tag and let him walk in free agency at some point if they weren't going to be able to come up with something. And so the Chiefs took a deal that helps them get rid of L'Jarius Sneed's cap hit quickly and allows them to continue to move on with the remainder of their offseason. So now they are back in a more advantageous position where they can do more than simply sign Hollywood Brown. They can potentially address the left tackle position and the rest of the things that require of this roster. And that's kind of why I think, I'm a little surprised by the compensation still. I am.
Yeah.
But I think this just tells you that I don't think Sneed was ever going to play another down in Kansas City.
Greg Stout had kind of been preparing us, right, for the compensation maybe not to be as high as we anticipated it to be, and it was still lower than I think a lot of us anticipated to be. A future third and a seventh-round pick swap is what this ends up being for L'Jarius Sneed. Now, L'Jarius Sneed does sign the new deal with Tennessee. I'm still looking for those numbers officially for those to come out, but the Titans have had themselves a good offseason. I see people in the comments. I see you guys in the comment section. We appreciate you guys joining us live. People are upset. People are upset about the compensation, rightfully so, Ken, as you mentioned, but I do think that it does come down to he didn't want to play on the tag. He probably got himself the money that he wanted to, and I think that people are upset with how this all went down, because it seems like it could have been somewhat avoidable when it comes to the trade compensation. But a little bit of a more somber episode, I guess you could say, of the breaking news team. This is the first time we've done the breaking news team where it's a little bit of a bummer of a news because as I mentioned, L'Jarius Sneed going to the Tennessee Titans, 2025 third-round pick, a future third, in a 2024 seventh-round pick swap with L'Jarius Sneed expected to sign the new contract in Tennessee. Kent, looking at the Chiefs' cap space, this is on Spot Track right now. They had $8 million with him on the books. That now 19.8 will get added. If my math is correct, yes. They're going to have more cap to do to mess around with, to play with when you're looking at different position groups that they could address in free agency. Thoughts on getting that cap off the book now and what the Chiefs can do in free agency moving forward?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this could go. They could go out and grab a veteran tackle if they feel like doing that. They could go look and add a veteran receiver now, try to add some depth along their defensive line. Maybe look at a veteran cornerback too. Just adding a veteran cornerback into the mix to try to throw somebody, else at that position. They have that flexibility to do that now. They could, hey, you know what? Mike Dana's still sitting out there.
Yeah.
They could bring a lot of the core of that defense back minus L'Jarius Sneed now. They have enough flexibility to be able to do some of those things if they so choose. So there's a lot on the table that they have at their disposal now that they simply weren't going to be able to have unless L'Jarius Sneed's cap hit was gone. And so if they were never going to come to an agreement with him on a long-term extension, then you kind of just got to take the parachute and get out when you can. And I think that's what we saw this team do is they moved on and they got out of it. And obviously people are going to be frustrated about the compensation. I know I can see it already, but I mean, this is what happens when you kind of get put into a corner. I wonder what the compensation changed from the last week when Nate Taylor indicated that the compensation might have been, or that the trade might have been agreed upon. Who knows what the compensation was for that, a week ago.
It's a deal that is, as I can see the comments rolling in, people are not very happy with it. The Titans have agreed to a deal with the Chiefs, 2025 third-round pick, 2024 this year, seventh-round pick swap. The new contract, according to Adam Schefter, L'Jarius Sneed and the Titans have a framework agreed upon, and they've been working on it for days per a source. It will be formalized after Sneed passes his physical, which that might be a sticking point. That could be a sticking point in terms of passing the physical. We do have, what do you got, Kemp?
Well, and before we get to distinguished members, and one I wished was extinguished,
we have
of it. This is something. Just bring them in. Bring them in real quick, and then I'll read this. This. There's an interesting tweet from Peter Schrager, but we do have a lot of people that have just decided to jump on. So
first, a flurry of people decided to jump on. First, I want to bring on Ryan Scott Hall with us. Ryan, thank you for joining us. Joshua Briscoe also joining us as well into the Breaking News team, and Craig Stout as well. All members of the Breaking News.
Yeah, let's read that Peter Schrager tweet. Let's actually go ahead and do that, Kent. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, so this is from Peter Schrager. The Chiefs were in a financial bind. Obviously, they love Sneed. Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, and Trey Smith all have contracts up soon. It's a shame, but the business and thus part of being a dynasty that drafts so many young, talented players in the later rounds. I think it kind of ties to what I was saying at the top of the show. I don't think that L'Jarius Sneed was ever really going to play another down in Kansas City. I kind of talked about that a little bit. I don't think he was ever going to play on the tag. I think the Chiefs took the exit ramp and got compensation guaranteed, which will still be higher than a compensatory third that they might have been able to get. And it sounds like they're going to try to keep the core of players that they've drafted well the last few years. So a lot to process here for everyone. I've given my takes. Joshua, you seem a little hot to trot. Craig's sad. Craig's sulking. But Josh, how you feeling?
No, I'm having a harder time than Adam Schefter trying to spell a 5-letter name right now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Is it Willie Sneed season?
Is that why he didn't make an All-Pro last year? Nobody could spell his last name? Is that what
did Willie Sneed catch a few more votes than we thought? Like, anyways,
Josh, you take the floor.
My connection might be terrible. Somebody else should talk.
Ryan Scott Hall, how are you feeling today, my friend?
Honestly, I was having a fantastic night. And then this happened. Kent, I didn't hear the first 5 minutes, but I think we can all venture to guess that you basically said the Chiefs traded L'Jarius Sneed for cap space. Without any kind of instant return, really, it seems like, I guess the instant return is the ability to add a few guys to the roster. I don't think that there's some subsequent trade that they're going to make. They're not going to go, acquire T. Higgins for those in the comment section. I'm sure are asking something along those lines.
No.
But here's why I'm sad. Number one, I think he was the best corner in the NFL last year. I don't even really know if it was particularly close. RIP, all those amazing graphics about shutting down number one receivers. And Craig, being the corner expert here, let me ask you, are you in any way, shape, or form comfortable walking into the 2024 NFL season with the cornerback room the way that it is right now, sans L'Jarius Sneed?
Yeah, I am. Really? Just because I've seen what Spagnuolo was able to do last year. Not obviously when they were at their best, when this defense was at its best, but I saw what they looked like in 2022. this team was good enough. They have enough depth. They have enough quality out there that they can ride with that. Trent McDuffie is a bona fide blue chip star, and he will continue to be one. And I, had some takes brewing that Trent McDuffie is probably going to surpass L'Jarius Sneed as the better corner this next year. I don't think he was last year, but I think he will supplant him this next year. I look at this a little bit differently because L'Jarius Sneed meant so much to what Steve Spagnuolo could do with his blitz packages, with what he could do with his coverage schemes, with what he could do with everything that was out there. And now you are taking a little bit of that away. I felt the same way kind of about the coverage schemes when Tyrann Mathieu left. It was like he was the one that made everything right. He was the one that mixed everything together and made life so difficult on quarterbacks. And then the very next year, with a bunch of young corners and saving a bunch of money, they played a lot of static coverages. And quarterbacks were able to take advantage of that at times. And so it was rough to watch. And so I have a little bit of flashbacks of that. If we have to revert back to watching this team play a little more static coverages, play a little bit more locked in, that limits some of the blitz packages as well, it's a step back for a defense. It was probably taking a step back because defense is so volatile anyway, but it's an even further step back from what Spagnuolo can call. And I don't want to limit that man's ability to call whatever he wants to call.
Okay, I'm going to step in here real quick. The terms have came out per Jordan Schultz on the L'Jarius Sneed contract, $19 million APY over 4 years, $55 million guaranteed for the contract for L'Jarius Sneed. That's $76 million over 4 with 55 of it guaranteed.
And let's see what the real guarantees are when they come out. We have it as at 55 million guaranteed. I'm not saying Jordan Schultz is wrong. I'm saying sometimes the guarantees are a little flaky at onset. For sure. 19 million APY though. That's less than the franchise tag he was getting this year. Why? I'm just this feels to me, and this I've always been a little dubious of this. I don't think the Chiefs were really that intent on keeping L'Jarius Sneed that much this year.
Clearly.
I think they were. I don't think they were ever really that serious about it. I know they postured at that, and I think they tried to play a little bit of a game here where they were trying to get compensation for L'Jarius Sneed. And I think the second Chris Jones signed that contract, I don't think there was any chance that L'Jarius Sneed was coming back. That's kind of what I've been hypothesizing, and it sucks. It does suck. And you look at the contract figures, the Chiefs couldn't be competitive at that number. I think that tells you everything.
They chose not to be. They definitely could have been.
Exactly. I think they're telling you everything. I think all the numbers, everything is telling you everything you need to know. I don't think they were really for the intent.
They have plenty of cap space now to go sign the best defensive end or best wide receiver in free agency. Oh, they're all gone. The thing about this that's so confusing and so frustrating to me is that we've talked plenty. I feel like I've been on the compensatory education committee to be like, hey, compensatory picks aren't guaranteed. They don't immediately show up. You don't know exactly where they're going to land. The Titans' third round pick will be better.
Yeah.
But it's a 2025 third round pick. This is functionally how different than just rescinding the tag. They're swapping sevenths this year and then getting a third rounder in 2025. We really are not that far removed from the never franchise tagging L'Jarius Sneed at all and going Orlando Brown. It is bizarre to me, and apparently my computer is having only a slightly worse time than I am. So I hope that some of this is making it through. So Peter Schrager can tweet about Nick Bolton and Trey Smith needing contracts? You effing kidding me?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being. Oh, go Ryan. Please go.
I'm so curious. So I think that reasonable minds can agree with your statement that it really looks like the Chiefs had essentially no intention of moving forward with L'Jarius this season. My question is why? I don't understand why. Because look, I forget the three-peat of it all. I don't need to get the entire band back together in order to feel confident about a three-peat. But when Dirk and I were entering the offseason and talking about some of this stuff, the first thing I said with Sneed was let me sign him for 4 years. and I will cut him after 3. And as soon as McDuffie starts to get expensive, I have 1 year of paying for the best cornerback duo in the NFL when McDuffie's on the 5th-year option and Sneed is making money.
Yeah.
Trey McDuffie is on a rookie contract. Like, I don't understand why you don't want to keep this asset if the only thing that you can get is a 7th-round pick the year that you lose them and a 3rd-round pick the year after. That does not make sense to me. If they would have signed him to this deal, it would have been totally palatable. If he would have signed that, I mean, let's say the numbers are right, 76 over 4. We could have signed that contract with him and turned around and got Mike Dana tonight too. Like it's we already had some money, could have tapered those numbers the way that we want, even without Brent Tillis. I don't know why. It's the why for me right now, because we can all agree on the what, but the why is very confusing to me. I don't understand it.
Absolutely, Ryan. I've been on that for a long time. You know, every time it gets brought up, L'Jarius Sneed. Immediately when the first thing that came out this offseason was Chiefs plan to put the tag on L'Jarius Sneed and they're open for a trade, AKA we're trading him. It was always a why. Why is this happening? Why? They know better than anybody else what he could do for their defense. Now, on top of that, they also know better than anybody else what his medicals are. And there have been a lot of things that have come out about his medicals, about his knee. And now all of a sudden we are looking at less compensation than Carlton Davis got to go to the Lions this year. And that was a wave 1 move. That was a we have to jump on this immediately move by the Lions. I wrote an article on February 29th that talked about the compensation and how nobody should get overly excited about getting a 1st or a 2nd round pick for a player of L'Jarius Sneed's stature, because since 2011, this has not happened. I did not for a second think that L'Jarius Sneed was going for a 4th and that the Chiefs would be okay with him going for a 4th and not playing in Kansas City this year.
And if you're asking why Craig's calling it a 4th, future assets are typically devalued by a round.
Thank you. So, sorry for confusing everybody. Yeah, future assets are typically devalued a round. It is a 2025 3rd and a swap of 7th-round picks. The draft math basically equates it out to be about a 4th-round pick.
The Titans do hold the 1st pick in the 7th round, so I'm really hoping it's a swap all the way up to
it's nice. Sick win for the Chiefs there. Sick win. 1st pick in the 7th round.
KCSN, yeah.
Does the draft stream get to end earlier though? That's the real question. I think there's a couple things here. Why are they making this decision? People are gonna. You guys are asking the why. I think there's very easy rationalization to it that is going to frustrate some people, but I think we're very instant gratification. So a few things. I think, there's a cash limit on how much, Clark Hunt's willing to go. And so there are constraints that they have to operate with on a year.
I'm going to lose my effing mind, dude. It can't be.
We're never going to know the truth. And that's the beauty of how the Chiefs operate. No. We're never going to know.
We're going to find out if they spend $20 million more in this offseason, though. Like, we will find out. Is there going to be a relatively equivalent return on what they just sent out? Because if this was a cash move, that's unacceptable. It can't be that. It might be.
Well, Josh, there's a difference. There's a difference between $25 million in cash this year and 55 doled out over the next 3 to one singular player. So there's
Clark Hunt is already very concerned with having me help him pay for things, so I'm not worried about it.
I'm not taking his side. I'm just saying, if you're looking at it from if you want to pass blame on people, I'm not convinced that the football people don't want to keep L'Jarius Sneed. That's all. I do think that
should be alarming.
Well, I think the football people would like to keep every single good player that they draft. So that's just not going to happen, but they're going to try to keep some of them. And the 2025, 2026, 2027 teams are things people have to take into consideration. And L'Jarius Sneed could potentially hamper some of their ability to extend some of the core that they want to extend. That's just unfortunately the reality of it. It's not a 2024 all-in chase for a 3-peat move, but it is a measured.
Which was the tweet essentially that you read earlier. They're trying to protect the future. Yeah.
And you want to know something? We went through.
Was Sneed not going to play on the tag? Like, do we think that we were going to get Chris Jones too for a guy that didn't have Chris Jones's money? Because we talked about this. I think Nate might show up here at some point. Nate's standing as of Thursday was, if you get to training camp, L'Jarius Sneed's probably going to be there. Maybe that's unfortunate, but this is not helping your team this year or in the future with that as the alternative, unless you have a plan for these $20 million.
Well, it would have been $40 million to keep L'Jarius Sneed and build a functional roster outside of L'Jarius Sneed, because you're paying L'Jarius Sneed $20 million, and then to create additional cap space, you've got to restructure old Joe Thuney, which I love Joe Thuney, but now you're restructuring and paying more cash out to a 34-year-old offensive lineman did he just tear his pec? Is that right? or Jawan Taylor, which I you know what? I'm fine getting into bed farther with Jawan Taylor, but I mean, I don't know. They just wasn't like,
guy. Can I cut you off? You know who a guy I want to get in bed further with, and it's Nate Taylor.
It's nice to meet you.
Of the Athletics. Nate, how are we feeling?
I mean, at least I had dinner. At least I had a little bit of video game time. I'll be honest. What the mother bleeping hell? Gotta be honest, guys. It's been crickets today. So in some ways I feel, I guess, validated and vindicated because I wrote a story on L'Jarius Sneed for The Athletic that appeared this morning. I had sort of briefly previewed it on Only Weird Games. So hey, I guess the reporting is structurally sound. They just chose to do it now. I don't. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know you guys have been broadcasting for 20 minutes now, and I appreciate you having me joining. I haven't been able to hear because my phone hasn't been doing what the phone's supposed to do. Josh knows exactly what I'm talking about. But this has to be step one of like 4 steps. I don't know if that's been said before. The Chiefs were getting squeezed from a salary cap standpoint. And when you have no leverage and you told everybody at the combine he's for sale
3 days ago,
I just, would I have stomached it perhaps another week or two? Sure. But I'm not the general manager. I'm not the head coach. I'm not the agent. And I'm definitely not the player. So my belief is that L'Jarius Sneed went to the Chiefs multiple times, and the Chiefs, feeling the love, respect, and admiration for L'Jarius Sneed, just told him this was the reality. This was always going to be the reality. We are sorry, but we cannot keep you in our plans for 2024. As sad as it is for both parties to realize it. And then, that squeezes, I want to make this clear too, that squeezes L'Jarius from his own negotiation situation. So it's bizarre, boys. I mean, if you got a 2nd round pick for D Ford in 2019,
well,
corners, man, they're just devalued. They don't.
Did Marcus Peters get a second? Was that he got a second to turn into Juan Thornhill?
It was a future
second.
Yeah.
A future second would have felt a lot better than what this feels like.
Nate, I got a question for you. I'm very curious about.
Sure.
So you and or Diana Rossini had the tweets ready.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the compensation a week ago was more than the compensation that they got today?
For sure. Yes. It's this is unfortunate. Much of the conversation, and again, it's hard to pin these things down because the conversation moves so much, right? There's so much fluidity in the negotiations. To make it simple for people, 3rd and a 5th.
Mm.
Now, you could say, and I know, Kent, I love the fact that you informed people, hey guys, they don't have a 3rd. But I'm just saying that's what they were hoping to acquire, right? I think I told Carrington on 610 Sports, I want to say like maybe less than a week ago, I was like, get 2nd round out of your mind. Get it out of your mind. It's never happening. It's not going to happen. I talked to Randy Mueller, who's, a former general manager for the, Dolphins and the Saints. He's sort of our front office analyst at the Athletic. He said maybe a team would maybe you could sneak a 2nd rounder a week before the draft because you just held your water and a team realized based on their draft board what their other positions of need are. Hey, we need a starter. So, here's a 2nd rounder. But as of, I would say the last couple weeks, it's been really looking for a 3rd round pick, something that is slightly above the compensation line, and here's what the Titans have to offer you. A future 3rd, not a 3rd this year, because what are they doing?
Okay, so another question. I'm real curious. Was the contract the same a week ago for L'Jarius Sneed as it was today?
Nope. And I think L'Jarius got squeezed because, and I think this is tough for like human beings. He wants to know, what is my future? I've never been this close to earning significant money, life-changing money, generational wealth. And I mean, let's be fair, all of us would be antsy. All of us would feel a certain way about kind of being out there just floating in the wind when you think you're one of the best players at your position, perhaps the best player at your position last season, especially the one who could be actually acquired in this offseason. So I think, I can't confirm. I think it was Matt Verderam, obviously, who I love and respect, who said, look, he wants top of the market, which is like $22 million. It's like, ain't nobody paying that, dog. Like, so it's partly a negotiation tactic. The most interesting number is $55 million guaranteed, because that's basically the line had you been franchise tagged twice. And I don't know if you guys have talked about that either, but obviously it's 120% of what you earned last, whatever you were on the franchise tag. No team was going to do that, but trying to get $20 million guaranteed, which is essentially what you would have gotten on the franchise tag this year, and going above 40 and sort of cutting it at like that 55 mark. It's a victory. It assures him that he's going to be on the roster for the next 2 seasons for the Tennessee Titans. And if he's released or something happens, he will be 29 on the open market for the first time as an unrestricted free agent versus where he could have been. And I think a number of people told me this, 28 on the market for the first time, he's probably not getting as high of a deal as he would have gotten this offseason at 27, reaching the open market.
Can I kick a question back out to whoever feels like picking it up?
I want
things
to.
You guys
I want to pick it up.
Did the Chiefs mismanage this?
Yes. Next question.
Because if you're telling me that they showed their whole hand at the beginning of this entire process and that they had a better offer available a week or two ago, and I understand that's connected to Sneed, him getting squeezed on the contract requirements and everything, and what he was requesting and what the Titans ended up blinking on, but they're at the very least, and maybe this is just because I made the mistake of looking at the live comments too closely today. You don't have to defend this by saying like masterclass, Veach does it again. Like this is the Chiefs here they were bluffing and bluffing and bluffing and bluffing, and eventually they had to turn their cards over, and it was a future 3rd and a 7th round pick swap, and they busted there. So I don't want to defend this as something like this is the conclusion of the Chiefs pulling all of their strings, because now they have money for Mike Dana and Mekhi Becton or whoever they want, or just their draft picks and roll over and not making Clark Hunt spend too much cash this year.
Out there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Go ahead and go give Tre'Davious White whatever it costs. This is not the perfect on a well executed offseason in terms of how they manage Sneed, right?
Here's the real question, I think, Josh. What's to like?
Yeah, no, screw my question.
I'm serious. Like, what's to like about it?
I don't know. I don't know. $20 million of cap space to spend on.
That's the immediate answer. Which again, there's got to be a multi-part to this. There's got to be 3 or 4 things in the works. We can all assume left tackle, potentially another veteran receiver. Obviously having money for your draft picks, right? To keep things in mind. I just because L'Jarius wanted top of the market money, that made the trade, as I wrote today, a week ago, like during the first waves of free agency, combust. So did they mismanage it? Kinda. Is it the player's prerogative to get as much as he possibly can, even in this odd situation? Yes. Yeah. So the Chiefs did him, honestly, a solid. And of course, for the Tennessee Titans, well, who are we bidding against? Because Minnesota's out the moment Kirk Cousins is gone. Atlanta doesn't want to get too involved because now we have to build an offense around Kirk Cousins. The Titans all of a sudden are like, well, I guess we could play a game of chicken with the Indianapolis Colts, but as we all know, the Colts didn't talk to the Chiefs at all, which we all know is a lie. But they paid Kenny Moore, so it's like, okay.
All but one of us know that's a lie.
Here's actually, I'd like to go ahead. You know what? Here's what I think Schefter has an out here. The Chiefs and Colts never talked about L'Jarius Snead, and that's the only way he knows how to spell that dude's name. So the whole time it was just like a little homonym situation.
So they kind of mismanaged it, but also this is a weird circumstance that they tried to get in front. Now you could have played it a little bit more coy at the combine and said, "Hey, we thinking we might franchise tag him." I'm just saying, what do you if that was to happen? What you think? Well, instead, they told everybody he's not going to be on the team next year.
I think that's really the crux of it all. Is I kind of maintain I feel like I don't think there was a ton of scenarios where L'Jarius Sneed was going to wind up a Chief in 2024, and I think the Chiefs were trying to get out ahead of it. They were trying to get something out of it because they've got 2 really pivotal contract decisions that they have to make in the same offseason. They made their decision. They went with Chris. I'm assuming they essentially wanted a deal kind of more or less agreed to by the time they walked out of Indy. Is that fair? They were hoping to have some resolution by Indy, and the longer they didn't get resolution and things started happening, it felt like they were just trying to take the parachute to get what they could out of it. And now this pick is protected from the compensatory formula. And hey, guess what, guys? 7th round, earlier 7th round pick this year, so we get to go home earlier this year. But I don't know. The more I think about all of it in its totality, it just feels like the Chiefs were wanting someone to bail them out of the franchise tag, and they were never really that serious about ever having him play on it.
The owners' meetings, gentlemen, is on Monday in lovely Orlando, Florida. I would love to see Brett Veach and Ryan Poles talk to one another because they basically found themselves in the same boat. Guys, take this asset off my hands, but for kind of fair market value. I mean, come on. He's a quarterback on a rookie deal, and he's the best corner available. Just so you can play it a number of ways. They tried to be, I guess, upfront. But yeah, they would have loved the Detroit Lions to be gung-ho about L'Jarius Sneed and be like, you know what? Before free agency starts, before real free agency starts that Monday, we're going to agree to this. And we're going to give you a 2nd round pick, and we'll all feel better about it and then build our rosters from there. Instead, the Lions weren't as interested as I thought they could be at the combine or from the combine. And once Detroit and Atlanta weren't really interested to that degree, then yeah, it gets played out, and the more your business is out there, the more it can be taken advantage of.
Well, I'll reset the show here as the Chiefs have traded L'Jarius Sneed to the Tennessee Titans for a 2025 third-round pick in addition to a 2024 seventh-round pick swap. Is Sneed signing a new contract, $55 million of it being guaranteed over 4 years. Works out to about $19 million. Nate did join the breaking news team. If you are watching live, we do appreciate everyone in the live chat. I was crunching some numbers while you guys were talking.
That's not good.
No, it's not. It looks like the Chiefs, according to my calculations, have $28.3 million in cap space when you take into consideration L'Jarius Sneed no longer being on their cap hit.
Mike Evans, come on down.
Can I read you some of the available free agents? According to Spot Track, this is their order, not mine, their order of available free agents. Look, Chiefs in the market for a backup quarterback. Ryan Tannehill still out there. David Bakhtiari. Maybe he can come. Xavier Howard, heard of him. Jamal Adams, hey, used to be kind of a Chief. J.C. Jackson, Emmanuel Ogbah, Hunter Renfrow, Allen Robinson, Justin Simmons, Odell. I mean, they just got their pick of the litter.
In 2025, they got their pick, yeah.
Jeremy Fowler does have a little tweet here with L'Jarius Sneed's franchise tag going off Kansas City's books. They have more flexibility to potentially re-sign free agents such as Mike Dana and Donovan Smith. Do we think that's where this is going, where they're gonna go grab a couple of those guys?
He's just one phone call away. Donovan Smith, just hold on. We're going home. Just come on, guys.
Run it back,
We
baby.
all saw this coming.
Run it back.
This is very run it back-ish again.
It's even more run it back than run it back was.
You know,
It's run it back, except for we hated our receivers, so we signed a good one for $8 million against the cap this year.
You realize the run it back last time started with a Chris Jones contract extension.
Oh, it did.
Is
Brady unretiring? Is that how this season ends?
Yes.
What about it had a Mahomes restructure in there too, right? Because he technically he did an.
He does that
extension.
every year.
I can play with that. I'll workshop that one.
We look back on run it back, I think, in a pretty unfair manner because they lost one game that season, and then the Raiders drove around the stadium, and then they rested their starters and lost another one, and then they lost in the Super Bowl because they had one too many injuries on the offensive line. They ran roughshod over the entire league. Were like one of the most dominant teams of the modern era. Football was so easy for them that season. They made all of the right moves until they ran out of offensive linemen. I don't think run it back needs to be something that we disparage the way that we do because they lost that Super Bowl. It wasn't like what's the wrong move they made in run it back? I mean, I know it's fun to kind of take a dump on it, but I don't think they did anything wrong there.
I can't think of anything like. I mean, I know what Josh is going to say. It relates to the draft.
Well, I mean, they got a little high on their own supply in one specific circumstance, or maybe having another like useful player there. I don't know, T. Higgins or something. Maybe Michael Pittman could have been helpful. But they did overreact after that in a way that like made it seemed like they were upset with how Run It Back ended. And even that I was reacting to the offensive line falling apart, which was no one in the front office's fault. I don't think they should have had 4 starting caliber tackles on that team. I think that would have been pretty damn near impossible, and they almost did that anyway. So I do think that's a great point, Ryan, that Run It Back was not this cataclysmic failure where they went like 9-7. Did we have 18 games by then yet? I can't remember. Where they struggled to win the AFC West and then bowed out in the wild card round or something. That's not what happened in that story. I do think that having this offseason be largely built on returning your like totally replacement level interior defensive lineman behind Chris Jones and then having Hollywood Brown and Drew Tranquill be your big swings before trading away your second best defender. This actually feels worse to me. I don't. At some point, there was this thought of like, oh, well, what is the three-peat effort going to be like? Like, is there going to be some sort of like Clark Hunt signing these huge checks that he wouldn't usually sign, and you get Chris Jones locked down, and they did that part. But now cohesion is good and consistency is good, and not having too much roster turnover, and maybe leaving your offensive line with the same 5 starters. That's cool with me. I like Donovan Smith. This moment feels like it was so forced upon the Chiefs, and that now whatever those next steps are, they're not going. I think we would all agree whatever they do with these $20 million is not going to return them the positive in 2024 that having L'Jarius Sneed would have provided. And that feels bad, even if it does provide them some opportunity for flexibility down the road. But you don't even get the draft pick for that this season. Disagree with me, Kent. I dare you.
Ooh.
Okay, so it depends on opportunity cost to a degree. And I get what, like, if the Chiefs were going to have, like, if the Chiefs weren't going to have a ton of cap space, then they've got question marks at tackle and along the defensive line that could preclude them from being a worse football team, or could keep them from being as good as they could be with without L'Jarius Sneed or whatever. They needed to have a spread out amount of players across their roster to help improve this football team beyond just the L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed plays, and they basically are just relying on their draft picks and vet minimum free agents after that. I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna feel about the left tackle situation if Kingsley Suamataia is, the left tackle in, day one. How are we going to feel about that? What if Felix Anudike-Uzomah doesn't take a step and this defensive line is just struggling, to generate enough pass rush? If teams are able to, there's a lot of questions there that you've got to take into consideration beyond just, we have a great corner that's great in our specific scheme. They might feel more comfortable replacing him than trying to replace 3 other positions that they need to add depth and, rosterable or starter talent. Like, I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made, even though I'm not excited about it, but
it also doesn't add up, though, in fairness. Like the whatever, what was Donovan Smith's cap hit last year? $3 million in change, I think. And I love Mike Dana. We were talking about Mike Dana on Thursday. He should be on this football team. But if you said, hey, you've got to find another way to solve your left tackle situation at low veteran money, and you're going to have to wait out this defensive end room, and suddenly Malik Herring is playing more, and Wanya Morris is the guy at left tackle, hey, that's tough. But Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams are your second and third corners right now. And maybe they won't be when the season starts, but in terms of that opportunity cost, it exists on all angles of it. And generally speaking, I'd like the guy that is closest to superstardom. It's why I'm happy they signed Chris Jones, even knowing that this could be the result. Because I would have kept Chris Jones knowing that it would cost you L'Jarius Sneed if that was the choice given to me. I think Mike Dana should be on this team, and I think there should be a veteran left tackle in the mix. But I still don't think that whatever $10 million you might spend on your left tackle and Mike Dana in 2024 individually, and now you've got the remaining 10 in free space left over, it's not going to be an individual impact like L'Jarius Sneed provided.
So what this leads to is Donovan Smith more than likely getting a nice raise from last year to this year. If things go a certain way. You are correct, Josh. He made $3 million. I just checked over the course of last season. It does inherit competition between him and Wanya Morris. You're still grooming Wanya to maybe be the starter in year 3 in 2025. And I think it was, I'm going to look here, the chat's been going fast. But D Plus says, Chamari Connor, the new L'Jarius Sneed? And Yes. More than likely, he will have some role where he will be a part of the slot as the roster is constructed as of right now. Because you have Deion Bush, we'll see how Brian Cook comes back from the ankle injury.
Safety 3?
Yeah, Deion Bush is safety 3 right now.
He was in the practice squad all year last season.
Why are you yelling at me, Josh?
I'm not.
I'm telling you the
You're saying things and
information.
I'm yelling at nobody.
But Deion Bush is the veteran. Now, obviously, that could change a little bit, but in terms of who could be the primary guy in the slot, if you want to move McDuffie to the perimeter, that more than likely would be Chamari Connors. That's the role they anticipated for him when they did draft him, almost a year ago. So there are ways for this to play out. But if they are willing to sign Donovan Smith before the draft, it's just another chance for the scouting staff and the coaching staff to come together and say, who are the best players available at the spots? And I know people want probably Brett Veach to trade up or to move around, but that might not be the case this year compared to years past, because they were hoping that the L'Jarius Sneed package would come with the pick that would essentially help them move up in the draft, and that has not occurred.
Hey, real quick, Nate, I just found out you took Kingsley Suamataia in the.
Oh, I
mock
did.
draft.
Yes, I did.
I will
Ask him how
just
to
tell you.
pronounce it.
Yeah,
Yo,
good job pronouncing his name.
Do you have Adonai down yet, though?
Nope, AD.
That was Seth's problem. Seth
Mitchell.
was struggling with Adonai. All of us struggled with, as Andy Reid will call him in training camp, King.
I don't want to disparage. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not in on Kingsley Suamataia either. By the way, if that happens, I'm just saying, like, you are putting yourself in a situation where you are relying on rookies in a very big situation. That's all I'm going to say. So
Correct.
I'm not criticizing Kingsley Suamataia. I just want to make that make that clear, because I like him. Like, he's one of the guys I would love to see in Kansas City. But I think you did good, Nate. That's all.
Yep. If you're drafting a tackle at 32 and you have the guy that played a little bit last year, you probably don't need that $6 million for Donovan Smith, right? Like, you at least have a 2-man competition already there. Donovan Smith signing on to go up against Wanye and 32 overall. That feels like a bad deal for Donovan Smith. Getting a raise for it.
I want to take something out of Ryan's. I think this is something you guys have done before, Ryan. I want to ask Josh, who you mad at? Who you mad at, Josh? Are you mad at the cat? Are you mad at the purse strings? Are you mad at the GM? Who you mad at?
I'm mad at the Katz brothers first.
Me too. I think that's appropriate.
That's number one. And then honestly, it's a great question. I'm kind of mad at the rest of the NFL. Like, I'm mad at the fact that a top 5 corner in football last year just got traded for picks we will never, that may one day be relevant, but most likely won't be relevant until at least 2025. And that
future Wanye Morris, the Chiefs just traded for future Wanye Morris.
The guy that we're like, they can't let him be the guy going into camp. Rightfully so, for the record. Like, again, there should be 2 options. That should be a competition. But we're talking about future Wanye Morris and then maybe Najee Johnson or maybe Isaiah Pacheco or whatever you want to do in the 7th round. But I am frustrated at the way that this process seems to have gone, which might be a little bit on the Chiefs front office. It might be a little bit there. I'm not like, this isn't me shaking my fist at the sky and screaming about Brett Veach. I feel like he has earned, in Veach we trust as a cattle call is a little silly to me because it sort of implies perfection, which he himself would not argue that he has been. But he has earned some benefit of the doubt that, like, he's doing a good job with the big picture in mind. So I think that's totally reasonable. But for this to happen at 10 p.m. on a Friday in the midst of March Madness,
what a bleeping news dump. I mean,
that's the Chiefs aren't proud of this. Like, that's where we ended up, where I don't know if I have specific frustration for one target over others, but I am disappointed that this is the conclusion to the saga.
Hey, is Kansas playing? Is Kansas State playing? Kansas State women, did they play already?
Missouri playing? I don't know.
Ain't no teams in Missouri playing, right?
No.
What time is KU Gonzaga? People are out. They're not looking at their phones. All right, we're good. Put it out. Put it out there. We're good. Yep. Yeah.
Grand Canyon's up 28-27 on St. Mary's right now, just so you guys all know.
I paused my wrestling documentary for this.
Josh,
and put on a suit jacket.
I'm not wearing pants though, so
good. Me neither.
Josh, I think you make a good point by saying that they're not proud of this. Like, I mean, I'm trying to understand it from a football sense. And like, I get that they can now, use that 20 million, redistribute it among these different positions in order to try to fortify the roster so that when they go into the draft, they can do so free and loose and all the different talking points that we've heard, in the Brett Veach era. But okay, let's think about this. What L'Jarius Sneed does for Malik Herring and Felix Anudike-Uzomah is a lot more valuable than what Mike Dana does for Josh Williams and Jalen Watson, or what Donovan Smith does for Patrick Mahomes and Joe Tooney or whoever is playing left guard to start the season. I mean, I don't understand it. And it might take a little while, and we got to see the plan come together and everything. I know that there are some subsequent moves that are going to come, but from a football standpoint, I don't get it. And Josh, when I kind of like just avoided your question about whether
Ryan, I'm sorry I snapped at you. I'm irritable and I'm really sorry. I
question with a question.
It didn't feel good. I didn't feel good about it immediately. I'm sorry.
Of course they got outmaneuvered on this trade. Like when I ask what is there to like about it from a business standpoint, or at least a management standpoint, it's bad. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's not a good look. And from the football sense, it's not a good look. Now, if you want to tell me that this is the cost of doing business, you would rather, the 23-year-old Nick Bolton get the extension, the 24-year-old Creed Humphrey get the extension. I know, Josh, that you don't like those things. But you know what, buddy?
They're happening.
Grow up at some point.
They're happening.
That's how football works. Nick Bolton is beloved by his defensive coordinator, and he's young.
Unlike that useless L'Jarius Sneed.
Well, I mean, I get it, but like, it's all these just shades and degrees of decision making.
Yep.
And like, there are arguments to be made that this is the right move. But I'm not going to make those. and I don't even think that the Chiefs want to make those. Like, the next time that Brett Veach sits in front of the microphone, you know that he's not going to be like, man, that L'Jarius Sneed trade. Like, he's going to be hanging his head. He's going to have a somber tone in his voice. And they're not, because they're not happy about it. And it's not just because they lost the player. It's because they got outmaneuvered on this thing, man.
So are you saying that minus the franchise tag, he basically left as if he was on the open market?
Yes, that's the thing. I think we said that earlier before you hopped on, Nate. But that's the thing. This is like a 7th round pick swap better than letting him walk. Again, I know the compensatory thing is not 1-to-1 that way.
I mean,
but it's basically a 7th round pick swap from rescinding the franchise tag and letting him walk.
And by the way,
which would have been a lot better for L'Jarius, by the way.
I know some people will say, well, Nate, what about the agent in this, right? What about the agent? Where does he figure into all this? A, he's not the Katz brothers. B, take that whatever you will. I'm just saying, these are not opinions,
it's just
ladies
factual.
and gentlemen.
It's just factual.
Factual information. He is not a relative of the Katz brothers. Now,
he doesn't, and listen, he's not a relative of the Katz brothers. He doesn't drive to work on a clown car every day. His nose don't go honk honk when you squeeze it. Just lots of true things.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do not endorse that previous statement. Now, the agent works for the client. The agent is trying to do the best for the client. The agent will say, why are you franchising my guy when you have no intentions of keeping him? The Cincinnati Bengals can at least say, he's T. Higgins. I mean, we gotta try. Like, we gotta try. Like, we're earnestly gonna try. We have until July to try. And sure, you can put your little trade request out there. You know what we're gonna do? Put it right in the damn shitter. Now, look here, okay? See your ass at OTAs. Please come to mandatory minicamp, and don't be an asshole by camp. The Chiefs aren't going to say any of those things to L'Jarius Sneed. So of course the agent doesn't love this and would like his client to be rewarded for the work he's done as a 4th-round pick, who's never had a major injury, who's only gotten better every single year, who was a cornerstone for the defense, made one of the most impressive plays in the postseason run. And oh, by the way, he's a 2-time champion. So there's a Super Bowl tax. There's a winning tax in all of this. So is the agent going to do the Chiefs a favor? No. No. So I thought it was very telling that last week, L'Jarius Sneed, credit to him, went to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, did his event, did his community service, basically was saying like, I don't really want to go. You know I don't really want to go. They don't want me. Yeah. And I'm sad because I'm actively advocating to come back to the team to be a part of a potential historic three-peat. And the team, as nice as they can be, are just saying, we just, it's not business sense for us to continue. And so the agent is not going to help the Chiefs in any way. The player, even though he's loyal to his former employee, needs to look out for himself. I got to be a starter. I got to get paid respectably. I have to have some real guaranteed money beyond just this $20 million that's like fake money right now that I can't get my hands on until week 1 of the regular season, which I think some fans tend to forget. Like, I can't touch that money until week 1. And by the way, I got to stay healthy all season to earn all that money. So with all this being said, there are no advantages, which is why I think it is understandable for the team to get out in front of this and say, how many teams can we get interested in this player? And at the combine, me and Diana Rossini reported that there were 6 to 7 teams interested. And sometimes you swing and sometimes you miss. And you know what's terrifying, fellas? And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I just wrote something today in the event that L'Jarius Sneed was traded. What is the Chiefs' biggest positional need in the draft? This is for all of you gentlemen and everybody in the comments. What is the number 1 position with this trade essentially being completed? What does it tell you? We have to get this in the draft.
I mean, I can make an argument for like 3 still, but like, I mean, which is also terrifying. Like, I can still make an argument for tackle. I can still make an argument for receiver. I can now make an argument for quarterback. TJ Tampa, get to know him. Iowa State.
You can throw defensive end in there also while you're at it.
Defensive line. Like, there's,
Calais Campbell's still out there.
Interior offensive line.
What are you going to say, my guy? What are you going to say?
I'll say receiver.
Sorry. It's not that.
I know, but I'm getting my vote in. Hey guys, quick. Hey, Nate, just don't listen for a second. Hey, there are 4 of us and we named 4 positions, so I think one of us can get this. So I said receiver, Ryan.
Ryan?
If you think it's receiver, go to your second option.
I don't like any of the offensive tackles on our roster.
Okay.
Because Ryan's saying offensive tackle, Nate. Your thoughts?
I wrote this.
Is that the right answer?
No, it's not the right answer.
What do you think the answer is?
I'll go interior offensive line.
It's not
because they're gonna
Tucker and Tucker.
Quarterback.
It's not that. Are we ready? Are we ready? I think some people have gotten it in the comments. Are we ready for me to write or for me to read what I've written that is yet to appear on theathletic.com? Yes,
exclusive.
I am a professional.
Is the Athletic okay with that?
Sure. Who cares?
They don't know this
Guys,
happening.
it's 11 o'clock on a Friday. What are we
Don't ask questions you don't know the answer to.
That's actually a great question, Nate. What are we doing here? It is 11 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, I gotta go.
It's defensive end. Quote, this might sound odd since the Chiefs have used a first-round pick the past 2 years on the position with Felix Enudike-Uzama and George Karlaftis. But entering the draft, those are the top 2 players on the depth chart. Malik Herring, a third-year veteran with just 14 games of experience, is the third edge rusher on the roster. The most experienced player at the position is Charles Omenihu, who is recovering from a torn ACL in his right knee. They have no depth at defensive end. You know, one of those premier positions.
I will also just use this opportunity to bring that up, that there is an interview with Missouri defensive end Darius Robinson on the KCSN channel with Tucker Franklin and Matthew Lane already. So I just throwing that out there too. I'll hear it, Nate. I mean, honestly, long term, short term, you got to hold on. You got to survive without Omenihu until he comes back from his injury. And I mean,
don't rush him back either, guys. Like, there's no need to rush him coming off an ACL. You would like to have him playing in rhythm November, December, January.
I know this team likes to get out ahead of problems too. I mean, this team likes to get out ahead with their draft picks for the future, and that's why they have 3 capable corners, Josh.
And that's why they drafted Felix in the first round last year, is to get ahead of the problem. And now the problem's here, and it's like, all right, it's Felix time. I'm going to go ahead and make this my absolutely honorable exit here. This has been not fun, but talking to you guys is fun, and that part I appreciate. So thank you for once again welcoming me into the Breaking News team. I'm going to try to keep my hair attached to my head for the next 72 hours or so.
Good luck. Godspeed, sir. Yeah, we could probably just end this. This mood has been very different from the other breaking news streams. Nate, I'm glad that you joined us for the first time on the breaking news team. It would have been probably a whole lot more fun for Hollywood Brown, but you had to come in here and talk about L'Jarius Sneed getting traded for a box of peanuts.
I was writing about said player. It's a little easier at 10 o'clock on a freaking Friday.
Ryan was with us for the Hollywood Brown. He was with us for L'Jarius Sneed, obviously. Ryan, any final thoughts on this move?
I mean, it makes me sad. I think that they are a worse football team, and I don't know that any $20 million, however they spend it, makes them better. I mean, they might feel more comfortable or something, but I don't think they can necessarily be a better team. And so that sucks, I want to see what's next. I'll ask one question if you guys will spare me the question, just because do they have to make a subsequent move that makes your eyes go, ooh? Like, do they have to? I know that it doesn't necessarily, it may not move the needle for some, but like if they turned around and said, okay, well, it's Justin Simmons now, like, do they, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, because I think this is kind of
right.
It's my closing thoughts. I can answer you with that. I don't think it's just about the $20 million in 2024.
Yeah.
I think it's about the long-term roster building that we all look at the spreadsheet we go to over the cap for 2024, and they're looking at 2027, and they're planning out their cash budgets, they're planning out their cap allocations, they're planning all this stuff out well beyond that, and they know players they want to keep, and they have a lot more context to a lot more of this than we all want to. We try to be, we're very reactionary to everything that happens in the year that it happens. But the other thing is, I think we all got to get used to this, because it's going to happen again, and the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls since they did it the last time. And so this team's going to keep doing this. They're the first team to win a Super Bowl with a quarterback with the kind of cap hit that Patrick Mahomes has. They're going to have to keep making a ton of tough decisions like this. And you're going to look at the roster, and there's going to be a wide receiver every single year. And they're going to be in the AFC Championship for a chance to win a Super Bowl every single year still too. So this year's wide receiver might be corner. We'll see. But get used to it. Get used to this, because this isn't going to be the first player that walks, and this isn't going to be the first underwhelming experience you have with letting a player walk. So I'm not trying to be too practical on a Friday night, but that's just how I feel. So
there it is. I think that's it's a good summation of these events here. As the breaking news team wrapping it up here, L'Jarius Sneed traded for a future 3rd-round pick to the Tennessee Titans, and look, a 7th-round pick swap. As Kent mentioned earlier, Titans have the first pick in the 2nd round. Maybe that's a net win, net positive.
Hey, look, I hope it's the 33 years all over again, baby. Let's make this the 65ers, the 65ers this year, the Tennessee 65ers. Let's go.
There we go. So that's going to do it for us. We appreciate everyone watching with us live at the time, listening after the fact. Make sure to go to kcsn.substack.com. Subscribe for $30 a month, or $30 a year, $5 a month for any and all of your Kansas City Chiefs coverage with all kinds of breakdowns for it. We're going to go do something else. So we'll talk to you guys later, and we'll be back live again. If there is more breaking news, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys later.